What is up, everybody? Skratch coming up with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Welcome to the channel, everyone. As promised, we're back at it and we're gonna test the epic champions this time around. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you guys watched this video where we actually tested some of the strongest legendary champions in the clan boss, we check which one of them deals more damage. I promised you in a few weeks we're gonna do one on epic champions. Now, I really wanted to try tons of different epic champions. And we're gonna go on the test server to do all that. But because I was missing some particular champions, I wasn't able to test raw DPS. So this is gonna be a guide on poisoners. I do wanna mention that I'm missing one particular poisoner, and that is Scabrius. Unfortunately, I fed him. I don't have him available on the account anymore. I opened quite a few shards on the test server. I haven't managed to get him, so unfortunately, we're not able to test Scabrius to see how he compares with the rest. And I just want to say, this video took quite a while to make, to get it organized. So if you enjoy it, don't forget to smash that like, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell and turn on all notifications to make sure you won't miss any of the future content. I really, really appreciate it. And how I mentioned, we're going to jump on the test server in just a second. Now, the champions that we're going to test are mainly poisoners. We're going to bring in Geomancer together with it. I'm going to explain you more about that. And we're going to level up the playing field. We're going to test them in the exact same team, the exact same gear. We're going to try to reduce the RNG as much as possible. That being said, let's jump over and see what champions we're testing in today's video. Yes, you do need to do quite a lot of runs to get exact results, but we're still going to be able to kind of like pinpoint which one of the champions stand out more than the others. If some of them are very close in damage, then yeah, I will understand that, okay, these are very similar, so some RNG might occur here and there. The team that we are going to use today, guys, is going to be the double slow man-eater team, because it will allow me to bring a defense down and weaken champion and an attack up champion. And like this, I'm going to have defense down, weaken, and increase attack for every single champion that we're testing today. These are the champions that we're going to test in today's video, guys. So we have Fayne, we have a Suiren, we have a Fenshi, we have a Geomancer, we have Aothar, we have Frozen Banshee, we have a Fahrakin the Fat, Occult Brawler, and we have Akemtum. This gear is going to be removed from Akemtum once we're going to get to him. This is the gear that we're going to use on all the champions. So we're going to have a Savage and a Cruel set. And yes, I tried to give them the same stats on accessories. It might be a small difference of 1 to 5% on the attack. Some rings, they have one roll. Some of them, they have two rolls. Then they have none on the banners. We tried to match the speeds as well. So there will be a bit of a difference. Of course, each one of these champions will have different base stats, guys. Some of them, they have 50 crit damage. Some of them 60. Some of them, they have 1,600 attack. Some of them, they have 1,300. So this will be different, but we want to see how these champions perform in the exact same gear. And if you would have the options, right? Let's just say you have 2, 3, 4 of these champions available on your account, and you're looking to make a clan boss team, and you're wondering which one of them will give me the better results. Well, that's what we're trying to find in today's video. They all have the exact same masteries. Nothing different on none of them. Some of them, like Aothar and Frozen Banshee, they don't require sniper, but you know what? We're gonna get it just to get rid of this red dot because it's annoying me, right? So everybody has the exact same thing in terms of masteries. And we're gonna start with Fayne, and slowly we're gonna move over to the next champions. These are the other 4 champions. We have Brachus for increased attack, Dracomorph only for defense down and weaken. We're not gonna use the toxic, the poisons from him, sorry. And we have the 2 man-eaters. Now, this is not a guide on the actual clan boss team. If you are curious to see that, I'm gonna link it in the pinned comment so you guys can check out the team if you are curious about that. That being said, let's jump over to the clan boss and crack on it. So this will be the team right here. We have the presets organized for each one of the champions. How I mentioned, I switched Dracomorph's A2 off and prioritized the A3 for every single one of the presets. And this will not be a full auto team. I will have to manual a couple of turns. So let's crack on it. Fayne, the very first champion that we have available. We have a 2-turn cooldown on the fast man-eater and a 4-turn cooldown on the slow man-eater. So I think this is the increased attack. We're going to bring the defense down and weaken. And then Fayne can do whatever she wants. Some of these champions that we are testing are actually bringing in different things, right? So some of them will allow us to bring defense down and weaken, others will bring more poisons, others will just bring more damage, right? So is another thing to keep in mind. Each one of them, they have kind of like their own value, you know. And yes, depending on what sort of team you're using, that can be beneficial for you as well. Having defense down and weaken will actually allow all your team to make slightly more damage and stuff, you know. So that is a 3-turn delay on that monitor. Then we're gonna we're gonna use the A1 another time, and then we should be ready to rumble. Or A2, whatever we have. You see, like right now, Fenshi could do this. Defense down and weaken, and we are sorted. So we gotta do that one more turn, and now we can actually click auto. I'm not gonna pay attention at the hits, at the damage right now. I'm actually gonna stop right at the end for the last 3 turns, where we're gonna get to see the damage once all the max that is activate. But Fayne is the first champion. Very curious to see the final results, guys. So let's jump into it and actually have a look. So right here we got a stun on, which is fine, because we're gonna be spot on from here on, and that won't affect us anymore. And here we are, guys. We are near the end with Fayne. We're gonna observe a bit the damage. So we got a 70k, a 72k right there with the A1. Fairly decent damage, actually. Very curious to see the other skills in action. Pretty good damage. So we're not focusing on the overall damage on the team, guys. Again, 72k. We want to see the A2 and A3, which should be coming in action pretty soon. There we go. 32, 45, 43. So almost 150k damage. With a War Master proc from there, will be a bit more than that whenever that's gonna happen, of course. Come on, Fayne. 203k with that skill. Pretty nice. And we got 53 million damage. Now, Fayne dropped an impressive 11.7 million damage. Very curious to see the next champion in action. The next champion that we're gonna try is gonna be Suiren. We're gonna move the gear from Fayne. So these were her total stats for whoever was curious about Fayne. I'm not gonna read them for every single one of the champions, because I am in a bit of rush with the test server, because it's about to close in the next couple of hours. And this video is gonna take us quite a bit of time to make, you know. So we wanna make sure we have enough time to test every single one of the champions. Now let's quickly transfer the gear. We're gonna see if we have to adjust the speed from the banner. Hopefully we should be fine there, hopefully, though. That's kind of like what I'm hoping for. To don't have a massive adjustment in the speeds, you know, because that can be a bit tricky. We might have to play around with different chess pieces maybe, or something like that. We'll see if we get at that point. Let's put the shield on as well, and then we're going all the way down to Cruel. We had the gloves from here, which they were a 5-star, 12 speed, so this already gives us what we need. This might be a bit of too much speed in here. Yes, definitely, so we might have to adjust a bit the banner. Hopefully we're going to be able to do that without a problem. 12 speed on the banner. Do I have anything that doesn't have 12 speed from this faction? So let's see. I need it lower, but not that low. There we go. We got this one. We don't have attack on it. And let me just quickly check the stats. I need to give one glyph on here, and we're fine now. So we have the right speed. And these are the total stats for Suiren. Let's crack on it and see what we're going to be able to do with Suiren. She brings poison, she brings defense down, she brings weaken as well. She's a pretty interesting champion. Very curious to see kind of like how they compare with each other. So if you're not familiar with the skills, double chance to land poisons. Not a very high chance, but still a fairly decent one. A chance to land weaken and a chance to land defense down. Now, the only thing with it is not 100%, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. Suiren for the action. Okay. We have the cooldowns that we gotta make sure we're keeping the track on. Defense down and weaken. And let's do the A1. A1 again here. A1 again. And we should be spot on. Again, we're not gonna check her damage at the beginning, guys. We're gonna wait a bit longer for that. and we're gonna see what's happening. Let's use that. Then I have one more turn delay on that man-eater, and then we can actually click auto. That was a 3-turn delay so far. A1 in there, another A1. She can actually try to use the defense down now since we don't have it, and we should be able to click auto from here on. I'm gonna fast forward towards the end of the fight, guys, where we're gonna get to see her total damage, and we're gonna have a look at the numbers that she's throwing in. The run is almost done, guys. Suiren hitting fairly decent, but how you can notice the damage dropped already compared to Fayne as an idea. So I'm pretty sure she's gonna do less damage. The A1 just doesn't have such a high chance to land the poisons, so that will definitely affect a bit the damage. We're still at around 1 million per turn. We got a 58k with the A3. The A1 hits fairly decent. I would say that Fayne hits slightly harder as well when we're talking about raw damage, you know. 69, 83, and bang, 49 million damage. We have Suiren with 10.9 million damage. Fayne did around 1 million damage more than Suiren. Let's move over to the next champion. The next champion on the list is Fenshi, guys. We're gonna move the gear from Suiren to him and see what we can achieve with the champion. So let's crack on and see what Fenshi can do. Again, he is a Giant Slayer champion. The masteries will be slightly different. Instead of War Master, he's gonna have Giant Slayer because that's what benefits him the most. And he's gonna drop poisons as well with the A3. And here we are again. We're gonna have to manual for the very first couple of turns, and then we're gonna go on full auto. We're gonna check the damage on him in a second. Let's put the increase attack, defense down and weaken. And let's start with the A3. So we'll end the poisons for 3 turns, which is better than the other champions. So another turn delay there. A1, no poisons from Draco. And a couple of more delays on the slower man-eater, and we should be ready to rumble. A1 again. Damn, no Giant Slayer procs at all there. And now we should be able to click auto and let it go from here. I'm gonna fast forward towards the end where we're gonna check his damage and see everything that he can do. So we're near the end, guys. The damage is still around 1 million per turn. He doesn't seem to do as much damage because he only has poisons on one skill. It doesn't bring defense down or weaken, but he has a slightly higher raw damage than the other champions. So if Giant Slayer procs is definitely gonna be adding quite a bit of extra damage. He seems to be hitting it for around 200k plus with the A2, and with the A1 the damage is not that great, so it's a bit under 100k. And we have a turn left in here. Very curious to see his total damage at the end. 103k, 117 with that skill, and we got 50 million damage, so 1 million per turn. And Fenshi, funny enough, he dealt way more damage than the other champion, so 14.9 million damage. He out-damaged him by quite a bit. I'm actually surprised to see that he dealt so much damage. I wasn't really expecting it, considering that the damage per turn stayed at 1 million. Let's move over to the next champion. So the next champion that we have on the list, guys, is gonna be Aothar. I'm definitely gonna have to drop the speed quite a bit. I gotta check the banner if I can adjust it from here. Seems like we gotta drop around 10 speed on here, so it's gonna be a bit harder to do. Actually, just perfect. We do gain a bit of attack from this one though, so let's see if I find a different one. That gives us a bit too much attack, you know. This one is actually better. So like this, we should be spot on. 172 speed. Let's crack on with Aothar and see what he can do. This is an OG champion. I used to run him on my clan boss team like ages ago. Very curious to see how he performs now. We're gonna leave Geomancer for the last. So Mr. Aothar. Again, we're gonna have to manual a couple of turns. He brings poisons with one skill. The rest is nothing too crazy. He doesn't bring defense down, weaken, or anything too crazy, but his raw damage is fairly decent as well. So we got the cooldowns on those man-eaters, increase attack, defense down and weaken, and I think this is the skill for poisons. Yeah, so we're landing 4 poisons. That's pretty nice actually. So we have another 1 turn delay on that man-eater. This one has 3 more left. I'm so surprised with the damage from Fenshi though. Like, he out-damaged Fayne and the Suiren by quite a bit. Quite a bit actually. Curious to see how is Aothar gonna perform here. So we have that done. We need one more turn cooldown on the other man-eater, and we should be ready to click auto. And then see Aothar's final damage. If we're getting resisted, like on defense down here and there, is kind of like out of my control. It's always gonna happen during the 50 turns for every single one of the champions. So it's not much that we can do about that RNG. Okay, and we should be able to click auto from here. And I'm gonna fast forward towards the end where we're gonna get to check a bit his damage and of course see the final numbers. Right guys, so we're on turn 47. He's doing around 150k damage with the A1 when we have increased attack, defense down and weaken. And with the A3 he doesn't hit that hard. But it seems like we are actually out damaging the other team so far. I'm very curious to see his actual damage. Because the other champions, they do have a bit of RNG in their masteries, like they can counter-attack and all the rest, while these champions that we're testing today, they have no counter-attack masteries or accessories, anything like that. And Aothar with 15.9 million damage, leading the show so far actually. It doesn't bring defense down or weaken, so that's kind of like his only issue. But in terms of damage and poisons, if you already have a defense down and weaken, he's definitely very, very solid. Let's move over to the next champion. So the next champion that we're going to try out, guys, is going to be Frozen Banshee again. She is an OG champion. She doesn't bring defense down or weaken. She just brings poisons, poison sensitivity. So very curious to see how she performs. Usually she will do much better in a team with counter attack or ally attacks, but we want to have a even field, so we're going to test all of them in the exact same team without changing anything for any of the champions, of course. She doesn't hit that hard. I can't really remember what sort of numbers she throws, but let's have a look now. So we gotta have our delays on the man-eaters. We're gonna start with the poison sensitivity with the A3 on her. Very important to have that up and running. If not, she's not gonna land poison. So the one issue with her is if she gets resisted on this skill, she won't be landing any poisons, you know. So that's gonna be a bit of a problem. Another turn delay on this one. 3 more on that. Let's land the weaken because it seems like Draco got resisted on that. She's not using the A2, which is very important not to use it because she's giving you turn meter from there. 2 more turns delay on this one and we're ready to click auto. A1 here again. Okay, you see, no poisons there. Maybe I missed it myself and I didn't click on the A3, but we're gonna let her do it now. We're gonna click auto and I'm gonna fast forward towards the end of the run where we're gonna get to see his total damage, her total damage. Curious to see if she's gonna out damage Aothar. Right, so we're almost at the end, guys. You can see the damage drop quite a bit, and that's mainly because she's dependable of counter attack champions, ally attack champions, or stuff like that. If no, she's landing the poison sensitivity for 2 turns. The boss takes a turn, that goes down for a turn, and then she only lands 2 poisons, and that's about it, you know. And if she gets resisted on that again, that's gonna be another issue. I won't be surprised to see her at the bottom of the list, honestly, because she's so dependable of counter attack, ally attack, the masteries, to have the counter attack on, counter attack accessories if possible. So definitely not looking very good for a Frozen Banshee. She does hit for around 130 to 150k with the A3 and at around 100k with the A1. Frozen Banshee, 10.9 million damage. Actually, she won't be at the bottom of the list, but still not as strong as I remembered her, you know. Let's move over to the next champion. The next champion is Fahrakin the Fat. I'm gonna have to adjust a bit the speed for him as well. Now, this champion is on a different level if we're comparing him with the rest, just because he's bringing the ally attack, he's bringing the buffs, he's bringing so many debuffs, and he actually hits pretty hard as well. So very curious to see how he's actually gonna perform, you know. So I adjusted the Faction Guardians for Fahrakin, guys. He's at the right speed. Let's take him in for a spin and see what sort of damage he's gonna bring. He's definitely gonna bring a lot of benefits to the team, though. Like, comparing him with any other of the other champions, he's definitely the MVP here. One of my most favorite epic champions. So let's do our setup in here. And then we're gonna click on Oro, check his total damage at the end. Increase attack. He brings defense down, the HP burn, and everything else is actually gonna be massive, you know. We're gonna start with this. This damage goes to the other teammates, you know, so that doesn't really help him because he's not attacking with that skill. It's gonna be a bit harder to take that in consideration at the end, but I'm pretty positive he's gonna do solid numbers on his own, you know. Okay. So we got a 2-turn delay on the fastest man-eater, and some HP burn, poisons. Another 1-turn delay on the slowest man-eater, and we're ready to click Oro. The increase crit damage helps a lot as well, but again, not for himself, you know. And Oro, I'm gonna fast forward towards the end, where we're gonna check his damage, raw damage, and of course his total numbers. Turn 46, guys, we have 56 million damage. The damage went up quite a bit because of the ally attack, the increased crit damage from Fahrakin. It does bring the defense down, the HP burn next to the poisons. He's a one-man army. Very curious to see his total numbers. It's gonna be pretty hard to rank him on the tier list because of everything that he does for the team as well, and increasing the damage. But probably I'm gonna put on the side the damage per team as well, so you guys get to have a better idea of how they perform all around in the entire team, you know. It doesn't hit that hard with his skills, so you need to have pretty strong gear if you wanna get good raw damage. But there you go, 150k with the A1, and we have Fahrakin the Fat with 10.8 million damage. But the damage all around for the team went up by over 10 million. Like, if we compare him with Frozen Banshee, she had 100k more damage than Fahrakin, but the team dealt like what, 13-14 million less damage than this. Let's move over to the next champion. The next champion that we have on the list, guys, is gonna be Occult Brawler. I'm gonna have to adjust the speed for him as well, so hopefully I can do it from the banner without having to touch the Faction Guardians. So we have the right speed on Occult Brawler, another OG champion. He's gonna drop poisons with the A1 and the passive, and he benefits quite a bit as well from having counter attack, ally attack, similar with Frozen Banshee. But you know what, we're not gonna make him that favor, so let's take him in for a spin here. Drake already brings the defense down and weaken. Now, Occult Brawler really got a bit of a power creep, similar with Frozen Banshee. There's so many better epic champions out there that can overall bring you more damage, bring you other benefits as well, not just poisons, you know. So let's set that up. We can't let him get too many debuffs on because his A2 is going to grant him an extra turn, so we want to put the block debuffs up as fast as possible with him. A1 there, and from here on he should be safe. The team is not going to get out of sync. If you're not running block debuffs with Occult Brawler on a clan boss, it can be pretty dangerous. Okay, another A1. One more turn delay on the other man-eater, and we should be ready to click Oro. And I'm gonna fast forward towards the end, guys, where we're gonna get to see his total damage as well. And we're on turn 46, guys. We already have 50 million damage. Occult Brawler might still be the GOAT, the #1 poisoner. We're gonna see at the end, but it seems like he's doing his job well. Like, look at all the poisons that we have on the bar. He hits pretty hard as well. The A1 can do up to like 170k damage. That's kind of like the highest that I've noticed so far. 189, there you go, even higher. So he hits pretty hard as well, and he brings more poisons than anyone else, honestly. The passive, the A1, if you have counter attack, ally attack in the team, that will benefit him even more. Let's see his total damage. I'm curious if he's actually beating Fenshi here or no. I've never put him kind of like on a head-to-head. 54.7 million damage. Occult Brawler with 17.2, and I think so far he is in the lead. Very, very nice. Let's move over to the next champion. The next champion that we have on the list, guys, is gonna be Akemtum. I'm gonna be able to quickly adjust the speeds for him from the Faction Guardians without affecting anything else in my team. So we adjusted the speeds on Akemtum from the Faction Guardians. So let's take Akemtum in for a spin. I'm actually gonna stop his A2. We're just gonna use the A1 on him. We're gonna prioritize that because the A2 is not really gonna bring extra damage. So we wanna spam the poisons, you know. Let's set the team up with a delay so we can click auto. Yesterday we've tested him, right? I've seen with the build that I had, he wasn't really doing solid raw damage. I don't think he's really gonna do a much higher damage. Like if we're using this skill, what do we have? 31, 27k, and we have the Hex, which is not really gonna make up for the damage that comes from a poison, you know. So definitely better to just spam the A1 on the champion. It's hitting pretty much around the same, you know, very similar multipliers. Like check this out. Yeah, you see, pretty much the same damage. So it will be just a waste if we're using the A2 on the champion. So we gotta have another turn delay on that man-eater, so then we can actually click on auto. A1 with Draco. A1 again with him. And auto. I'm gonna fast forward at the end, guys, where we're gonna check his total damage. So here we are, guys, turn 47. We're doing 1 million damage per turn. He's able to drop in some poisons. And even though we locked his A2, he doesn't drop that many poisons in. So we're able to keep like 2, 3, 4 poisons up on the bar at the same time. His raw damage is not that great. We have the Giant Slayer, which does benefit him quite a bit as well. Curious to see where he's gonna rank on the tier list. Considering that he's 40 Void Shards, right? He's a pretty expensive champion. So, yeah. Is he worth it over the other ones or no? There we go. Almost 50 million damage. And we have Akemtum with 14.3 million damage. So the next champion is Rowan, guys. We adjusted the speed on her. We gave her the exact same gear. Mastery, she has Giant Slayer instead of War Master, though. And she doesn't need a Sniper as tier 5 because it's not going to increase the chance to land the poisons. Let's take her in for a spin and see what she's going to be able to do. Very, very curious. I haven't used her in like a million years. I know she got a buff quite a while ago. The good thing about her, she's Void Affinity. So she's going to do the same job on every single affinity, which is actually pretty important. I know a lot of people are using her as a stun target. So there we go. The damage is actually fairly decent, around 160k there. Okay. Let's set the team up, and we should be ready to click auto. 4 poisons, similar with Aothar. I'm curious to see if she's actually gonna outdamage Aothar or no. Triple hit in there. We got a Giant Slayer. We can run that. One more turn delay on that man-eater, and then we can actually click on auto. Okay, A1. Let's delay that man-eater again. That heal reduction is not really going to help us. But I'm going to fast forward towards the end of the run, guys, where we're going to see her total damage. And here we are, guys, near the end. Turn 46. 1 million damage per turn with Rowan as well. It feels like a lot of these champions are doing a very similar amount of damage per turn, right? Like, very, very close to each other. Of course, once everything comes at the end, we're actually seeing quite a bit of a difference in their damage. So let's see what we're getting out of Rowan here. How I mentioned, being Void Affinity is actually pretty solid because you're going to be able to run her on whatever. You know, she's great in the budget man-eater team as well. Okay, we're gonna pass the 50 million damage, which is nice. And her damage is fairly decent. Like I showed you at the beginning as well. She does at almost 200k with the A3, around 150 with the A2, and the A1 is a single hit. But we have Rowan with 15.3 million damage. Pretty nice, considering that she only has one skill that really does work, you know, the poisons. Let's move over to our final champion. The final champion is Geomancer, guys, and I gotta admit, I've never built a Geomancer for damage, like ever. I'm gonna have to quickly adjust a bit the speed on him. I have no idea how hard he's actually gonna hit, because I never tried him for damage. Let me know in the comments how many of you guys actually tried the Geomancer for damage. Will that give us drop enough speed? Not really. Can we drop a bit more from somewhere else maybe? Or everything has tons of speed on it? Feels like it. It definitely feels like it. We're gonna have to make it work somehow with this. Let me just quickly check in the calculator if 175 is gonna mess it up. It feels like it's still fine, so we should be Gucci like this. Let's take Geomancer in for a spin. The test server is literally about to close in the next 10 minutes, guys. So hopefully we're gonna have enough time to do our run with Geomancer as well. Let's make sure we're not messing anything up, and we're gonna go in pretty quick. He does bring weaken, HP burn as well. The passive is what really makes him so powerful. I know he's not a poisoner, but considering that he's so unique and there is no other champion to really compare him with, we're gonna have to give it a go like this. I want to make sure I'm landing the HP burn with this champion on the very first turn of the clan boss, you know, so at on turn 3 actually, because I want to have the HP burn on for the entire duration to be spot on. So A1 there. We're gonna A1 it here. We're gonna do that. One more delay on a dead man-eater for one more turn, and we should be ready to rumble. Okay. A1 and auto. Now, I'm very curious to see what sort of hits he's gonna do. I don't think he's gonna hit that hard, Geomancer, though, honestly. But I'm gonna fast forward at the end. We're gonna check that to 137k with the A2, not bad, actually. And we're gonna see what sort of damage he's gonna bring up. Now, he is gonna benefit a lot from Affinity Clan Boss. So if you're running your Clan Boss on Spirit, Magic, or Force, he's gonna do much better damage, you know. But we're gonna test them all on Void with the same gear, so we're gonna see what he's gonna do in just a minute. And here we are, guys, turn 46. We are already at 51 million damage. And Geomancer can actually smack them. Actually, it's pretty solid damage. Look at that, 220k with the A2, and the A1 deals a pretty decent amount of damage. So I'm actually very impressed, because how I mentioned, I've never built a Geomancer for damage before. This was the first time, around 100k with the skill. The higher the damage from the clan boss, the higher the reflection as well. So the numbers from Geomancer can get higher. If we're gonna do a team that goes on for like 100 turns, Geomancer is gonna do so much damage, guys. It's just crazy. But here we are, 56 million damage so far. Very curious to see his final numbers here. And we have Geomancer with an impressive 22.8 million damage, putting him at the very top. What a beast of a champion, guys. Now let's move over to create the ultimate tier list for epic poisoners. So before we move over to create the tier list, I just want to say the representation of it is really situational. So it really depends by everyone's account what sort of teams you're trying to build. Each one of the champions will have pros and cons depending in what sort of team you're gonna use it. We're gonna consider that we're gonna have defense down already covered by a different champion and weaken, and we are just bringing in damage, poisons, raw damage, HP burn, whatever the champions are bringing, but the defense down and the weaken is covered by a different champion, so we don't have to worry about that. So like this, we're gonna be able to kind of like see the champions in a better light. If we're gonna have a quick look at their total damage and results all around. So I feel like if we're gonna just rank the champions based on their own damage, we're not really gonna make them true justice. So we're gonna do one as an idea as well for the overall damage on the team, and one for each one of the champions, kind of like to give us a better representation. So we have Fayne with 11.7 million damage, almost 54 million in total. Then we have Suiren with 10.9 million damage, and we have 49.75 million damage in total. Then we have Fenshi with 14.9, almost 15 million damage, and we have 50.04 million damage. Then we have Aothar with 15.9, almost 16 million damage, and we have a 52.2 million damage. The next one is Frozen Banshee with 10.9 million damage, very similar with Suiren, but the total damage for the team is really lacking in here, so it's 45.96. How I mentioned, each one of the champions, they have pros and cons. Well, Frozen Banshee has more cons than pros. Let me just put it like that, because she is really dependent of counterattack or ally attack. And if you don't have that in your team, you definitely have much better options on the table. And even with that, you're still gonna get much better value from a lot of other champions. The thing is, she was amazing when she was released in the game, because we barely had any champions that were dropping poisons. Then she was the very first champion to introduce poison sensitivity. But since then, a lot of things changed in the game, guys, and I really feel like she's definitely gonna be the bottom of the list. Then we have Fahrakin the Fat, 10.8 million damage. So how is he at the bottom of the list, Skratch, when he actually dealt 100k less damage than Frozen Banshee? Well, look at the overall damage of the team, 61.05. The increased crit damage, the increased crit rate, the ally attack brings so much. It's going to be a bit hard to kind of like do the ranking because of this based on damage, because it's going to be really unfair if we're just going to be like, well, Fahrakin dealt the least amount of damage, he's going to be the weakest sauce, when he actually brings so much to the team. The next one that we have is Occult Brawler with 17.2 million damage. Very solid damage overall, and I know I've put them head to head ages ago, him and Frozen Banshee, and he was always at the top. The team dealt an overall damage of 54.77 million. The next one is Akemtum, the new beast from the east, and we have him with 14.3 million damage, with a total of 50 million damage for the team, and that was only by using his A1 without the A2. So we tried to see if that's gonna be a bit better, but unfortunately, yeah, he just lands the poisons. He doesn't do that much raw damage. That's kind of like the main thing with him. The next one is Rowan with a 15.3 million damage and an overall damage on the team of 50.8. Then the last champion was Geomancer with an impressive 22.8 million damage. The damage the damage overall for the team was 57.8, sorry. So far, Geomancer seems like he might be ranking number 1. Now, how I mentioned, we're gonna try to do 2 different tier lists. One, I didn't really have this in plan. So the very first one, how you see right here on the screen, is gonna be the one based on the overall damage for the team. So even though Geomancer dealt around 12 or 13 million damage, or yeah, 12 million damage more than Fahrakin, the team with Fahrakin dealt 4 million damage more than Geomancer's team. And that's because of the ally attacks and everything else that you have in there. If we're gonna have a look at the damage, Occult Brawler with 17.2, he beat Fayne by quite a bit on the damage. So if we have defense down and weaken on the team already, Fayne, she's really not gonna bring us that much. So Occult Brawler is a much better option. But again, we prioritize the overall damage on the team, and how you can see, Occult Brawler is definitely smoking Fayne on damage. He hits pretty hard as well. Then in between Fayne and Aothar, we kind of like prioritize the overall damage here. Even though Aothar dealt around 4 million damage more than Fayne, the damage per team overall was better with Fayne. But not that big of a difference, right? Like a million and a bit. So it's not like, wow, game changing. Rowan with Aothar, they are doing pretty much kind of like the same thing. 4 poisons on a 3-turn cooldown, both of them. Rowan, she's Void Affinity, but she doesn't hit as hard as Aothar. The overall damage for the team was 52 million, but that was mainly because it probably had a slightly better RNG. Now, Aothar dealt 15.9, Rowan 15.3. So honestly, if you guys are asking me, Skratch, can you rank these 2 champions? I would probably rank Rowan as better than Aothar, just for the simple fact that she's Void Affinity. Then we have Fenshi. Very impressive, actually, with a 14.9, almost 15 million damage, and the team overall dealt 50 million. So I feel like Aothar, Rowan, Fenshi, they're very similar in a way or another. You know, Fenshi hits fairly decent. He has a lot of multi-hits, which help him quite a bit. Akemtum with 14.3 million damage. Pretty decent damage from Akemtum, honestly. And yeah, in Hydra, he does perform better than in Clan Boss. Then we have Suiren with 10.9 million damage. So the whole idea with Suiren is that she does have defense down and weaken. It's not 100% reliable. That's why I'm not ranking her a bit higher. And you see the damage. It dropped quite a bit by 3.5 million from Akemtum. So it's a massive difference on the board here. And Frozen Banshee with 10.9. A very similar amount with Suiren all around because they don't hit that hard. Now this will probably be the tier list based like that. If we're gonna base it on the damage that we see on the screen, it's gonna look totally different. The actual damage from champions. Now, the whole idea there is that, yeah, we can do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually gonna do it for you. I'm on a Photoshop, guys, because I cannot do it online just because of the format. I want to have the damage there as well, so it's easier for us to see what's happening, you know. So probably if we're gonna go in and just kind of like prioritize the champion's damage, this will look very different, you know. And I don't necessarily agree that that's the case. So if we're gonna put it up like this, and then we're gonna do a slightly different tier list, kind of like to give you guys my opinion on everything, you know. So Occult Brawler will definitely go in a second. In there we have Aothar, which will go on the third place. I'm just readjusting everything. I can't just drag them because I'm just gonna make a mess, so we're gonna do it like that. Then we're gonna have Rowan coming in instead of Fayne if we're prioritizing the damage in that order. But then you can see the damage for the team is definitely looking pretty different, you know. So let's actually drag it like that. We're gonna put Akemtum a bit higher, so Akemtum would actually go here. And it doesn't really reflect the reality, right? Because the champions are just bringing so much more to the team. Like, imagine putting Fahrakin with the highest damage at the bottom just because he dealt 100k less damage than these two champions, you know? It's just like pretty nuts, you know? It's definitely not gonna play out how it should, you know what I mean? And I feel like I'm missing a champion, and that would be Fayne, right? So we lost Fayne on the way here, but that would be kind of like how everything would look if we would base it on the actual damage that they dealt. And I really think that this is gonna be an incorrect thing to do because it's not really reflecting their true power. So if you're gonna ask me, Skratch, can you do me a tier list based on your own experience and just based all around on multiple teams that you guys are gonna use, and ignoring that you have defense down and weaken from a different champion? Like, if you're gonna be to rank these champions based on your own knowledge of the game, right? And we're talking about Clan Boss here. We're not talking about other content in the game. So the way I would do it, Fahrakin, in my opinion, would be number 1. Then Occult Brawler, where is he? OB would come down to number 4. Then Geomancer would go down to number 2 in terms of Clan Boss. Just because he's so damn powerful. Now, you can make Barrier, and yeah, you're gonna 1-key with the other champions. Geomancer probably is not gonna allow you to 1-key, but we're not only talking about one Clan Boss team here, right? Then we have Fayne. I really think that Fayne, she deserves to be on a top 3 in my opinion. And then we have Occult Brawler, which I really think he deserves to stay on number 4. And then from here on, I'm gonna bring Akemtum down because I really think he belongs right about here. And we're gonna bring in Fenshi a bit lower as well. So Fenshi should go there too, in my opinion, for Clan Boss. And we have Aothar. So I really think that Aothar should go around here, number 6. And Rowan, because she's Void Affinity, and it's not a massive difference in damage comparing her with Aothar, should come in top 5. So this would be a tier list that I would say with confidence, guys, this would be the one, you know, because the champions, they reflect a bit better their own potential in here. And you've seen, just based on their own damage, it's just going to be a total mess and incorrect. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think about it? Would you change anything on the list? Like, would you change any champions from here? And yeah, I did wanted to try some other champions. Unfortunately, I just didn't have them available on the account. So we're going to do another one in a few weeks, only for raw DPS epic champions, because we've already tested the legendaries. That was all for this video, guys. Much love, appreciate all of you guys watching. Don't forget to smash that like, subscribe for more content, turn on all notifications to make sure you won't be missing any of the future videos, and I'll catch you all soon in the next one. Peace.